Welcome back, everyone. This is Austin Reville here at 2FC Tactical, and we're going to dive in today a little bit on what is going on in California and their First and Second Amendment issue lawsuit against the catalog. So thanks. Let's tune right into this. Welcome back, everyone. If you please don't mind, like, comment, and subscribing. We do appreciate all of our followers, all our commenters. I try to read all the comments and get back to you. We really appreciate it. So go ahead and make sure you're subscribed. If you don't mind heading over to our Rumble channel as well, giving that a follow. We always simultaneously post on both Rumble and YouTube just to make sure that you guys get the content that we produce. As we know, YouTube is not always the friendliest, as we've had issues with that recently. And if you'd like to support us, head over to our Patreon. We have a Patreon, and definitely would appreciate any of the support we get, but we will always make our content free. And I know that makes me a bad salesperson, but I do want to make sure that everyone gets everything. That's why hitting that follow button is real easy. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes just 30 seconds. Now with that, let's dive into what's going on in California. So California is no fan of the Second Amendment. We know that. We know that Rob Bonta and Gavin Newsom, despite what Newsom would have you believe on, say, the Sean Ryan podcast or anything else, is not a fan of guns. In fact, he hates them. I do personally believe he is in that Dianne Feinstein wing of the anti-gun party that would take all of them from everyone if they could get the votes. And it makes sense because Dianne Feinstein was a San Francisco mayor, and Gavin Newsom used to be a San Francisco mayor. That seems to run very deep for a very long time out there. Now, when it comes to what they're currently doing, they're doing something that honestly has really never been done before. They're trying to sue the internet. And what I mean by that, not like an internet provider. They're trying to sue a specific website that's not located in California, that doesn't have anything other than source codes, which is just written codes, for those of you who don't know, that allow you to either read, depending on what the website is providing, or in this case, 3D print. Now, California has a long list of anti-3D printing laws. Well, it turns out, though, it doesn't really matter because criminals do criminal things. We all know that. For some reason, anti-gunners can't get it through their heads that criminals don't care about the laws that you put in place. By very definition, they do not care about the laws because that's what makes you a criminal. All you end up doing is punishing law-abiding Americans and making little, if any, impact at all on gun violence. And I do think it should be mentioned, and I mentioned this, I think, in the previous video, gun violence is on the downward swing right now. So we saw a peak in 2021 of just lots of gun violence. A lot of that has to do with 2020 and COVID and the riots and the anti-police movement. And then it peaked kind of 2020 and it's come down actually below pre-2020 levels. Hey everyone, quick pause in the video to give a shout out to our channel sponsor, Patriot Mobile. Now I have been with Patriot Mobile for 2 years personally, and I cannot be happier with my service. I have the unplugged phone that I got because of Sean Ryan's podcast, but they have every phone you could want. And as the only Christian conservative wireless provider on the market, they put their money where the mouth is, which is supporting the rights that you and I enjoy, including the Second Amendment, which is what we're all about here at 2FC Tactical. So please give them a consideration for switching. We are all using phones and mobile wireless all the time. So why not support a company that supports you? Using the code shall not infringe, you can save over at Patriot Mobile, and there will be a unique link code down below, so please go check it out. Now back to the video. That's good news, because when we look at this, we don't want gun death or gun violence in the United States. No one does. Lawful gun owners wishes there was zero gun violence, because then there would be no infringements on our rights and nobody trying to attack our rights. We could get everyone on our side. So for those out there that say that like us pro-gun people are just pro-death, I think is an evil argument. And we hear that a lot about, just because I think that anyone should be able to own whatever they want, including, say, a full auto machine gun if they would like to, doesn't mean that I'm pro-death or pro-killing of anyone. It just means that rights are absolute. Therefore, I believe in that. And I don't believe the government can take something away that of which they did not give. It's that simple. And that's kind of where this lawsuit comes into play, because it actually implements not only the Second Amendment, of course, we're dealing with firearms, and when I say firearms, arms of any kind, it doesn't matter if it's knives or not. Any kind of arms that can be bared is protected under the Second Amendment. The Ninth Circuit right now is hammering hard against switchblade knives, or out the front knives, which aren't technically switchblades. We won't get into the minutia of that. That might be a future video. If you'd like me to do a video on the issues with the Ninth Circuit and switchblade and out the front knives, please drop a comment down below. I'm certainly more than happy to do that. But this lawsuit that Rob Bonta, the Attorney General out there, is doing is against Control Pew LLC, and they're the producers of the Catalog. This is a place in the 3D printing world where you can go and download files for your 3D printer to 3D print either firearms in entirety. We saw that kind of funky looking one that was fully 3D printed, or parts of firearms. And certainly there's many cool things that are being done in the 3D printing world when it comes to firearms. And I will say, shout out to Redacted Industries, as we have something fun coming to you from them, which is all 3D printing, including some of their FRTs. So it's very exciting. Just so you know, when it comes to this, Control Pew LLC just hosts a website with source codes. That's all they do. They're not selling anything. They're not selling guns. They're not even selling technically components. They're just selling information on how to build them. Or not even, they're just hosting it, I should say. Anyone can go download it and make anything on the 3D printer which you have purchased. Now in California, there's already a bunch of restrictions when it comes down to what you can 3D print. So by nature, you're breaking the law if you do this. Now, I personally think that law is anti-Constitution, because the Constitution absolutely protects you making home-built firearms in your home. It does. Anyone can do it. Making something is not the criminal act. What you do with it is the criminal act. And I think we need to start having that discussion in this country. We need to start criminalizing just mere possession and start criminalizing behaviors, because possession of a thing doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to take this, what's right here in front of me. This is a World War II German K98K sniper variant, which we are going to do a video on our From the Vault series. So I left this out intentionally. This has markings on it from the Third Reich, because it was a World War II German gun. So of course there's going to be Waffen stamps on this from that era. That is how it works. But that, by just possessing this, does not make me someone who believes in the Third Reich, right? And everyone would say, well, of course not. You're a collector. You like to collect things. This is actually a customer gun, but that should be applied across the board. It doesn't matter. If you want to do something, like make something in your home, that doesn't mean the intent is always going to be criminal in action. So if I want to build, let's just say, I want to build a car in my garage, and I do, that doesn't mean my intent is to go out there and run from the cops. That would be an equivalent law, basically, saying like you can't build your cars in your house because you might go on a high-speed chase one day. We should start applying that to firearms in all walks of life. Just because you do X doesn't mean criminal action Y is what's to come. And that's basically what California is saying, is we can't even have this on the internet because everyone that does this is a criminal. It is not true. In fact, the vast majority of people who use this are not criminals by leaps and bounds. If we were to take the law of averages, I would say it's heavily in the non-criminal's favor. And it also implicates two tracks of the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is clear, right? We see the clear implication of the Second Amendment because you're restricting access to arms or the ability to build or create arms. The First Amendment is the information side of it. You're also stating that you as California can impose nationwide and worldwide your rules on the distributing of information. And that is draconian, very George Orwellian, and extremely scary if this is allowed to stand. I personally actually don't know how this is going to go. I could see the Ninth Circuit actually having issues with this, which of course it will work its way up to the Ninth Circuit just because that's the Court of Appeals. This absolutely, I would say, is going to go before the Supreme Court. You know, just if we're going to take we're going to take odds, the Ninth Circuit has not been friendly to firearms, and I could see them trying to go. I could see them going against us for sure. I mean, we did just see the Third Circuit out in New Jersey not allow a challenge to move forward in the New Jersey 3D printing laws, and we have to really start considering the broader implications. We talk a lot about the Second Amendment on this channel, and we will continue to do so because that is what we're here for. But all the amendments are equal and are equally important. And I do want to kind of let you think through where this could end if this is allowed to stand. So like we're talking about 3D printed guns today. And there's going to be a lot of people out there is like, well, I don't have a 3D printer. I don't care. And we heard that during the bump stock stuff. Well, I don't have a bump stock, so I'll just let them ban it. It never ends with that. It didn't just stop at bump stocks. Then they went after pistol braces and a slew of other things trying to use the same processes that was put in place for bump stocks. And that's what we have to really guard against. We have already seen California try to attempt anything printing of pro-gun, anything for the use, even youth sports, shooting sports. And yes, that has gone in various different ways through the court system. The reality is this implicates the First Amendment, and how long will this go until they say you can't? They're going to sue everyone that puts any kind of firearm manual or how to weaponsguild.com or anything else like that. Something where you can learn how to build things or manuals to maintain things because they show diagrams, maybe even places like Apex or numerous gun parts where they have the exploded views and of guns where you can see where all the pieces go and how they work. You know, where does that end? And that is what's scary. And then it won't just end with firearms, by the way. There might be, well, there's this thing that people are saying that we don't like, so therefore it should be banned in the state of California, and we're going to force this nationwide. And that's really what this is about. This is kind of a test case of California trying to issue its laws on all the other states in the union. And that cannot stand. First off, we're a federalist society. It's to the republic for which it stands, not to the democracy for which it stands in the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's because we are a republic. We are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. And that's important. That means states get to do different things. Now, that doesn't mean that they get to do anything to the Bill of Rights, because the Bill of Rights are eternal. They're restrictions on government of rights that pre-exist government, given to us by God. Therefore, man cannot take it away or restrict. And it's also mandated via the 14th Amendment that they have to uphold it. A part of being a state in this union. And we're seeing fights in Hawaii and other places about this. A part of being a part of this country is you're agreeing to the foundational principles that this country was built upon, right? And the moment you violate those, then yes, the federal government should come in and slap it down. Now, this is going to be, when it comes to this case, my appeal to the Trump administration. You have come out and said some things about what Virginia is trying to do, and I applaud you for that. You've also taken some very anti-gun stances. You should come out and absolutely eviscerate the state of California for attempting to do this. First off, they are trying to ban a First Amendment protected item, which is freedom of information on the internet. You get to distribute things on the internet unless it's a criminal act. And just distributing information in and of itself is not a criminal act. So therefore, it is protected. Guns are absolutely protected, and the distributing of firearm files, build how-tos, and all that kind of stuff is absolutely 100% protected. And you should also state that, California does not get to implement California law on Florida or Virginia or anywhere else, the same way Virginia can't do it elsewhere. There is the Foundational Bill of Rights that is for the entire nation. No state gets to restrict nor implement that restriction across the United States. And so I'm urging the Trump administration to go back and fight this hard. As for you guys in California, support those who support you. Gun Owners of America, FPC, NAGR, the Second Amendment Foundation, Reville. Wow, I cannot speak tonight. That's been a theme lately on our videos because we film these kind of later at night, so I do apologize about that. And of course, your California Rifle Pistols Association and everyone else that's going to help fight this. The catalog could use some help if you want to kick some money their way for their legal defense, because again, even if they win this, it still costs money. It costs money to defend your rights, so we do urge all of you to go out there and support them. And something that doesn't cost you money that everyone should do is call your representative in the state of California. Call Rob Bonta's office and blow them up if you live in California and say that this is unconstitutional. It cannot stand. And to be honest with you, this would be a good one to have everybody in the United States call the California DOJ, Rob Bonta's office, and say, like, we are against your lawsuit. Why? Because this is restricting information nationwide, which does implicate all of us, I should say. Because there are other states that, if this is successful, will 100% follow through. You know that. We all know that. We've watched this. So that's what you can do. Now, in the meantime, if you want to know about this or anything else, please tune into our channel, like, comment, subscribe. Check out our news section. We write about all this, and a lot of times we put links to where you can go to support people to help fight these kind of things and do a little bit more in-depth analysis. The reality is our rights are under attack nationwide. We just did a video on how it's just pedal to the metal, especially in these blue states, to go anti-gun hard and fast. So fight against this, and we're going to all have to stand together because, as Sir Patrick Henry said, we certainly will hang separately if we do not hang together. So with that being said, I do hope you'll continue to tune in, and until next time, keep your powder dry.